But we were talking about the 49ers before we brought on Q. And first of all, the rumor about Brandon Staley, he got interviewed with the 49ers for the defensive coordinator job. First of all, who cares if it's Brandon Staley? Here's what we know about the defensive coordinator position with the San Francisco 49ers.
I care. I don't like him.
Well, you know what?
And maybe as a head coach, maybe as a coordinator, it's different. Some people can't stand up in front of the room. Some people are not meant to be head coaches. That doesn't make them bad coaches. So I should back up from that. But as a head coach, I think he's one of the worst that ever was.
By the way, programming note, Anthony Slater is on a train going from Washington to New York. It's really, really loud. We're going to push him back to 8 o'clock
There's tomorrow. There's a quiet car. Get in the quiet car.
Nah, he's Slater, man. He's, the athletic, man. They got to save some money.
Right.
So, he's probably right in the back of the train. Who knows? Probably with the luggage. Who knows?
Dude, the train
He's got like 4 crying babies next to him. He's basically a babysitter right
Dude,
now.
the train is the best way to travel on the East Coast.
I do like the
There's
train.
nothing like it,
I'm going from New York to Philly this summer.
The Acela. Get on the Acela.
Dumas is going to get married. Shout out to Jason Dumas. He invited me to his wedding. Him and the lovely Caitlin. Ed and I are going to go out to that wedding. We're going to take a train from New York to Philadelphia to go hang out with Jason Dumas. We'll go see Philadelphia. By the way, that same weekend, the Braves are in town to take on the Phillies. I'm staying right by Citizen Bank Park. I may go check out my boy Ronald Acuna Jr. and Ozzie Albies and the great Atlanta Braves, Matt Olson and Austin Riley. That's baseball. Philadelphia, that's baseball. The hell we're watching out here at the San Francisco Giants, I don't know what that is. But that's baseball over there with Atlanta and Philadelphia anyway. So to your point about the trade.
Y'all getting locked up. I got no friends anymore.
Oh, you got plenty of friends, FP. You act like, dude, y'all getting locked up.
Y'all getting locked up.
Dude, if you follow FP Santangelo on Instagram,
lifetime deals.
You'll just see a subtle picture of him drinking some champagne. You think FP Santangelo is drinking champagne by himself?
Yeah.
It's highly doubtful.
I go solo.
No, you do go solo.
I go lone wolf.
Yeah, you do go lone wolf.
Yes.
Going lone wolf is nothing wrong with that.
It's good.
I used to love going to movies by myself.
I got places right across the street. I'm bored. I just go talk to my buddies and bartenders.
I went to a movie by myself.
I don't have any friends. I live by myself.
Yeah,
I used to do a show by myself.
There you go.
I don't have friends.
You did do a show by
Everything's by myself.
Everything's by yourself.
This is fun having a friend to talk to while you're on the radio.
AFP.
This is great.
This is just show business.
This is awesome.
We're not really friends.
I don't even know you.
I don't even bother you after
What's your last name?
I'm kidding. So John Lynch talked to the media yesterday at Indianapolis. Scouting combine's going on right now in Indianapolis. So John Lynch and GM of the 49ers are talking to everybody and taking questions and answers or whatnot. So we know what the needs are and everything like that. But boy, the defensive coordinator job, first of all, let's start there. So if it is Brandon Staley, let's say if it's Brandon Staley. Obviously, I know the PR hit and what the fans are going to say. Brandon Staley, defensive coordinator, are you kidding me? But again, I want to keep in mind, I want everybody to keep in mind, Brandon Staley will not be able to run Brandon Staley's defense. When you come sign up, and it was proven this past season, when you sign up to be the Niners defense coordinator, you're going to be running Kyle Shanahan's defense. The defense he wants run. The scheme he wants. He wants wide nine. What does wide nine mean? The defensive line is wide out. Both and the other edge rusher, whether it's Reddy Gregory or Chase Young, are going to be lined up outside the tackles, way outside the tackles. All right? The defensive line, tackles are going to be in the B gaps at times, sometimes in the A gap. You'll play, but the scheme is going to be the same, basically. So how much power, how much juice will that new defense coordinator have under Kyle Shanahan? So I'm not throwing my arms in the air saying, oh my God, Brandon Staley. Because I understand, FP, you're really running Kyle Shanahan's defense.
There's a delivery in the way you go about it. There's a dynamic and a vibe that's already been set there, and I think they need somebody to accentuate that dynamic and that vibe. To me, it's not about X's and O's with the Niners defense. It's about enthusiasm. It's about a young coach. It's somebody that's dynamic, that's going to feed off their energy like D'Amico did. Those guys, Fred Warner knows how to run that defense. Nick Bosa knows what he's doing. They just need a guy that's younger and more dynamic for me. It's not about schemes. It's yeah, but do they have to get better at stopping the run? Were they sloppy at times this year? It wasn't the same defense as it was in previous years for a lot of different reasons. Hufanga and injuries but it has to be somebody dynamic. I want somebody that motivates and it is there on the sidelines and it's as enthusiastic with the way they play, that wasn't there last year.
Do you think it could be there?
Steve Wilkes wasn't that guy. He just wasn't that guy.
Could it be with Brandon Staley? Could he motivate these guys?
I don't know Brandon Staley enough as a coordinator versus a head coach, but as a head coach, he seemed very stoic.
So he coached the outside linebackers with the Rams in 2021.
Yeah,
he was the D coordinator he was the defensive coordinator with the LA Rams in 2020. Outside linebackers coach with Denver in 2019.
I think diversity is a factor too.
Yeah,
I do. I think there needs to be more African American coaches in the NFL. So like. I don't know who you get, but I want somebody that.
Would you want Bill Belichick?
No, dude.
You don't want Bill Belichick as your defense coordinator?
No.
Why?
Just because. I want somebody young and dynamic. Did you not just hear me? That's not young and dynamic. He's a head coach.
He's old, but his defense was dynamic last year in New England.
I know. No, I don't. I'll give somebody a chance, dude. I want some new blood. I want some fresh blood. Give somebody a chance.
You want an inexperienced guy, just somebody to give a chance.
Because my defense is
a Super Bowl ready team.
We just had an experienced defensive coordinator. How'd that go? I want somebody young and dynamic that maybe is enthusiastic about the position, is going to be fired up every single day to come to work.
You think Wilkes was fired up every single day to come to work?
I don't know that. I wasn't in the room.
All right.
It did not appear to be. He did not appear
to be. I push back on that because, a lot of the Niners lost 5 games last year. Lost 5. They lost to the Rams.
What is wrong with them? They lost 5 games.
Right, they lost 5 games, literally all season. I'm not going to count the Rams game, but they had the 3-game losing streak where everybody pointed the finger at Steve Wilkes or whatnot, and we turned a blind eye to Brock Purdy throwing 2 fourth-quarter interceptions in back-to-back games. Whatever. You got a concussion. Let's make excuses. But, again, I don't care how young, old, dynamic, if you're just kind of deadpan, if you're just stoic, you're running Kyle Shanahan's defense. So, who's going to do that? I have no idea.
I would
take Mike Vrabel in a heartbeat.
Why do you say they're running Kyle Shanahan's defense? He's an offensive guy. He cares about offense. I know he cares about the defense too, but it's not. He doesn't run the defense.
Well, Steve Wilkes mentioned earlier this year, midway through the year. Steve Wilkes, and we have the quote, "I'm still learning the scheme." When he was hired by Kyle Shanahan told him, "This is the defense I want, Ryan. Now, if you want to throw some wrinkles here and there, sure." But Wilkes wasn't able to bring his assistant coaches to run his defense. He had to come in and coach with the holdovers on the 49ers staff that was with Robert Saleh and DeMeco Ryans. So he came into a situation where he had to change up. Steve Wilkes is a blitzy type of guy. He loves to blitz, press man, all that stuff. 49ers don't do that. They run a lot of zone.
So why do you get hired?
Peters.
Why do you get hired?
Ask Kyle Shanahan. That's on Shanahan. So that's why it is. Shanahan's taking more authority in the defensive meetings. Again, he wants to run this. Originally, when he came, he ran the Seattle defense, the cover 3 scheme with the wide 9 defense. Now they adjusted and ran 2-man defense, which means 2 safeties on the hash. You play 2-man deep. You don't let everything over the top. And you got your corners playing a little bit of zone, sometimes man. But Shanahan doesn't want to do a lot of man. He loves the zone. So that's why I say it's Shanahan's defense.
Okay.
We talked to Crocker about it earlier this year, too. Eric Crocker, he's a great follow, 49ers Lockdown podcast. He told us right before the Cleveland game, guys, this isn't Wilkes' defense. This is Kyle Shanahan's defense from that point on. It's like, I get what he was trying to say. And so that's why I don't get all up in arms about Wilkes and this guy. It's Shanahan's baby at the end of the day. It's his scheme that he wants. Go ahead, Lovin. I see you want to get in here.
Oh, no, I was going to get in your ear and just tell you that those Wilkes comments are on your board if you want to hear him say.
Well, here it is, FP. Let me hip you to it.
Bring it.
Here's Steve Wilkes. What? This was October 27th. Was this after the Minnesota game?
Yes, this was when he was getting grilled for that, the blitz
the
call.
Cover 0 blitz right before halftime? Yeah, here it is. Here's Steve Wilkes.
I think you have to because it's based off the defense. This defense is a unique defense, and there's certain things that go with that particular defense, and I'm learning that, and there's certain things that you can't sway away from, so as I evaluate and talk to the coaches, most importantly, as well as Kyle, I see those things. So again, that's why I'm not panicking. I know we have the personnel, I know we have the talent, and I just got to do a better job putting them in position.
And then later on, here's what Wilkes said about what it's like learning the defense.
It's always challenging when you've done your own thing for 17 years. It's a little different, but I'm encouraged. I got a great supporting cast. These coaches that are around me are phenomenal. They know this defense. They know their craft. These players are great. So we're all in this together, man. So I'm not hitting the panic button at all.
So that was after the Minnesota game. They lost back-to-back games to Cover 0 blitz, which made it 16-7 at halftime. The Niners did come back, and the defense only allowed Minnesota to score 6 points in the second half. But we're going to blame that game on the defense, obviously. That's what fans do. That's what some media members did. Well, we're not going to look at Brock Purdy throwing 2 interceptions in the fourth quarter of a one-score game. No, we're not going to do that because we love Brock Purdy. But Steve Wilks told us there, midway through the season, that was through 7 games, FP. I'm still learning the defense.
Dude, if I got a defensive coordinator that's gone through training camp and it's week 7, he's still learning the defense? You got to know your defense by week 7. Sorry. You got to know your personnel by week 7. You got to know what your head coach wants by week 7. Because you have all the preseason, you have training camp. You should know before you break training camp about your defense. Not after you're in week 7, you don't know about your defense?
No, they're 5 now.
You don't know, you're still learning at week 7?
Right. It's just fascinating to me. Right?
That blows my mind.
But he said, I've read this particular defense for 17 years. This is completely different for me. Now, mind you, let's not get lost in the sauce. Because through 4 weeks of the season, through the first 5 weeks of the season, when the Niners were 5-0, and they had beat the Cowboys 42-10, and they were rolling teams, we were having a conversation. I'm sure you were having a conversation. What's the better unit? Is it the offense or the defense? This defense was flying around hitting people. Offense scored 30 left and right. So it wasn't a debate. We're all like, hey, Kumbaya, got the best team in the league, blah, 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 blah. Defense, offense, everything's great. They lost 2 in a row, and all of a sudden, we got to start finger pointing. That's what we do in sports, start finger pointing. So Steve Wilks, we knew he was the easy scapegoat. And I'm not saying he was a great fit. I don't disagree with the 49ers parting ways with Steve Wilks. Wasn't a great fit. I get all that. But damn, the blame he gets, I'm just thinking to myself, was the defense really terrible?
Yeah.
Well, they held back Patrick Mahomes 3 points.
160 yards rushing in the playoffs the first 2 games.
That was bad, but the offense wasn't that much better.
True.
And the defense against Detroit in the second half, how much did they score? They scored a touchdown with a minute left. 7 points, 8 points, whatever it was. So I don't know, man. So that's why I say FP. That's why I'm always saying this is Kyle Shanahan's defense.
Bonte, when you were hearing Nick Bosa's quotes about we didn't know about this and this wasn't, we didn't practice this, and then Bosa, if you read between the lines of every Nick Bosa quote all season, he was saying like they were confused. That's a defense that flies around with their hair on fire, and if they're thinking too much, you take that athleticism away. And at times this year, watching that defense, they were thinking and not reacting.
I hear you.
And when you fire a coach at the highest level and you make that decision, what you generally do is you go to your veteran players first and you say, this is what I'm thinking. What do you think?
Well, I think that Nick Bosa's full of it. That's what I say. Okay. I say, Nick Bosa, get your ass to training camp and learn the defense. If you're so damn confused, get your ass to camp.
When he says things like this wasn't brought up, this wasn't brought to our attention.
That's embarrassing. That is embarrassing.
We didn't go over that.
But it's also, to me, it's throwing people under the bus, which is not being a leader. All you got to say is, hey.
But there was quotes by Fred, too.
There was quotes by Fred, too, earlier. There was quotes by Fred. There was quotes by Fred.
You're smart. You're reading between the lines.
See, when it comes to Bosa, I don't want to hear it because he's talking about conditioning and, me not coming to camp, maybe slow me down. Well, that was on you, dude. You got $120 million guaranteed dollars. 20 more than the Niners wanted to give you. I don't want to hear anything from you, Nick Bosa. I saw Nick Bosa take plays off in the Super Bowl on the last 2 possessions of the game. Nick Bosa is full of damn excuses. He made so many excuses. I don't want to hear from Bosa. Go get the quarterback. He's always got an excuse for something. Fred Warner was a little alarming, and that's why they parted ways. I get it. I'm not saying Steve Wilks was a great fit here whatsoever. But I know who the better coach was during the Super Bowl. I know who the better coach was.
Spagnola's the best coach in the Super Bowl.
On the 49ers sideline.
Oh.
49ers sideline. It definitely wasn't Kyle Shanahan, but Bosa not taking responsibility, saying we weren't ready for it. He's just diving in with the RPO with his head cut off. Really, was he not prepared? I want to hear from Steve Wilks. I would love for somebody to get a microphone in front of Steve Wilks. Hey, what did you think about this quote from Nick Bosa? Were you guys not prepared for the RPOs? What is he going to say? Now I want to hear from Steve Wilks. Now I want to hear from some other people.
When Wilks was in the booth in the press box, and then he was coming down, Fred Warner had some really big quotes about that.
He did.
About how he would feel more comfortable with his coach on the sidelines.
Here it is.
You got
October 29th, which is funny because the first 5 weeks, nobody said anything about the press box. Niners were 5-0. Nobody had a problem with Wilks being in the press box when they were 5-0. They ran a cover zero blitz. It's like, oh, we need him on the sideline right now. It's like, oh, really? You lose a couple games, now we're panicking? But here's Fred Warner back on October 29th for you, FP.
Yeah, that's at least my worries. Honestly, I think players win games, not coaches. I think he's done a great job. I think right now the issue is, I mean, there's going to be ebbs and flows in the season, especially with a new defense coordinator. I think the offensive side has gone through that as well when we lost McDaniel. You know, like even though Kyle is the play caller, like when you lose a coach, there's going to be adjustments being made throughout the season. So we got to continue to work on that. But at the end of the day, players are going to be the reason that we win games. We got to execute at a higher level, player-wise.
So Fred Warner, this is why I love Fred Warner.
I love Fred Warner.
This is why I love Fred Warner.
He's so accountable.
Did not throw the coach under the bus. He said the players got to be better.
Yeah.
What did Bosa do after the Super Bowl? He said we were not prepared for that.
Yeah.
So one is not making excuses. One is taking the accountability and not throwing people under the bus. And the other guy who got $120 million guaranteed and took plays off on the final possession of regulation and overtime is making excuses and throwing the coach under the bus. I mean, that's why my blood starts to boil, FP, when it comes to Nick Bosa. Because he showed off. Honestly, man, you want to be a captain? He wasn't a captain this year, but you hold out a training camp, which I was fine with. Look, as long as you're ready for Pittsburgh week 1, fine. In the first 5 weeks of the season, everything was good. Oh, Bosa, yeah, I know the sack numbers aren't, but I got the pressure rate, and I'm getting to the quarterback, and I'm hurrying the quarterback, and PFF has me graded as one of the best defensive ends, blah, 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 blah. Everything was all kumbaya. Mama Bosa came on the shows with Willard and Divs, talking about, oh, Bosa's ready to go. He's trained. He's ready. There would be no slippage. And then the excuses started coming during the bye week. And he started throwing Wilkes under the bus. Well, you're a defensive lineman. How much you're not jumping back in coverage. You're going to get the quarterback. Contain the quarterback. Contain the run game. Go get the quarterback and go hit him. Instead, I heard excuse after excuse from Nick Bosa. Oh, my God. Oh, my Lord. Oh, my Lord. He bothers me, FP. I swear to God he does. And he's a great player, but he bothers me with the way he talked this year.
Yeah, I didn't really have a problem with it. You obviously did. I did say that he'd be playing upstream all year. There's in shape and there's game shape, and you could. I questioned why he played so much against the Steelers in week 1. He played almost every down against the Steelers, and you could tell he was gassed.
Right.
And there was times this year when he looked slower than usual, and that he was gassed. And I think he was playing catch up football all season long. He admitted that too, and maybe that is an excuse. I don't know, or maybe it's fact.
Yep. But look, I think Nick Bosa is a really good player, a great player. Could be great. But saying the things that he said after the Super Bowl, you hear that from Fred. Again, Fred took responsibility.
Did you say you think Nick Bosa can be great?
I mean, he is a great.
I think he is. I'll push back on that a little bit.
How many pass rushers?
You don't give that guy that contract if he's not great.
No, I
just don't
hear
that kind of money around for Steve Kerr if he's not great.
But I tell you right now, FP, I'm taking 5 pass rushers over him right now. 5. Chris Jones, TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons, and who's my other guy? I just had it in my head. Gosh darn it, I just had it in my head.
Max Crosby.
Max Crosby. Max Crosby, because he does not miss a snap. Also, come on, man. I'm just keeping it real. I'm just keeping it a buck here. The whole Wilkes blaming game and all this. Mahomes had 19 points on the scoreboard at the end of regulation. That should be good enough to win.
No, and I'm never a blame the coach guy. You know that.
Right.
I mean, that's the last place you go. I agree with Fred Warner's quotes 100%.
Right, Warner, here, I'm going to play it again.
It's on players.
I'm going to play it again. I'm going to play it again.
Yeah, that's at least my worries. Honestly, I think players win games, not coaches. I think he's done a great job. I think right now the issue is, I mean, there's going to be ebbs and flows in the season, especially with a new defense coordinator. I think the offensive side has gone through that as well when we lost McDaniel. You know, like even though Kyle is the play caller, like when you lose a coach, there's going to be adjustments being made throughout the season. So we got to continue to work on that. But at the end of the day, players are going to be the reason that we win games. We got to execute at a higher level, player-wise.
But just being accountable, and like I said, I'm not blaming Steve Wilkes for anything. I'm with you. We're agreeing on this.
Yeah, no, we are.
It just wasn't a good fit.
It wasn't a good fit at all.
And you asked me who I thought, and I'm not going to say any names because I'm not a big defensive coordinator name guy. I'm not that deep into the weeds of the NFL. You said Belichick, and 2 alpha males, and that ship is passed. I want somebody young, dynamic, and enthusiastic like D'Amico. I miss D'Amico. I love D'Amico Ryan.
Love D'Amico.
I miss him.
D'Amico.
And he's doing a hell of a job in Houston as a head coach. He's got guys that want to play for him.
Right.
The biggest mistake young coaches make at any level is they want to show their players how smart they are versus getting their players to play for them. If you can get your players to play for you, then all the X's and O's and the strategy takes care of itself.
Right.
So you want to say, hey, I'm the smartest guy in the room. I'm smart. No, get your guys to play for you. And that's what D'Amico did. He got his guys to play for him. And they played such a passionate. 2 years ago, not last year, but 2 years ago, this is the first time in my fandom, my 49ers fandom, I was more excited to watch the defense than the offense.
Yeah.
When the defense came on the field, when they got the NFC Championship game 2 years ago, that was fun. They were playing a dynamic brand of football. They were playing with their hair on fire. They were playing sideline to sideline, whistle to whistle. They were being athletes. It didn't look like they were thinking. They were just reacting. And that had a lot to do with D'Amico. And he was young, and he was dynamic, and he was fired up. He was running down the sidelines, and they were running to him. And it was like a party every time they had a turnover. And that's what they got to get back to, that sort of enthusiasm.
I agree.
On the sidelines, that kind of coach. Whatever the scheme is, whoever's in charge of it, doesn't matter to me. I want somebody to be young and enthusiastic like D'Amico Ryans.
What's funny, though, is that we have a bunch of professionals here who need a rah-rah type of guy to get going.
They don't need it. It just adds to it. It's like gas on a fire.
It's the NFL,
You should motivate yourself. I agree, but that helps, dude. You always want to get patted on the ass and said, good job. No matter how long you've been playing, no matter how good you are, that never gets old.
But you know what's funny? We love D'Amico now. His first year, we're all saying, boy, they missed Robert Saleh. Oh, man, Robert Saleh. Oh, my gosh. Robert Saleh, blah, 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 blah. Oh, man, Robert Saleh. And then when D'Amico first, and then remember 2022, his last season here, they went through a spell where they were giving up points left and right. They let Marcus Mariota had like one incompletion. We're talking about Marcus Mariota. They had let it game. They had one incompletion. The Chiefs come to town the next week. They dropped 44. One of the greatest performances I've ever seen from a quarterback. They were throwing deep. They were throwing short. They did whatever the hell they wanted against D'Amico's defense, and they dropped 44. So they all have had their struggles. Wilkes was no different. I agree. Wilkes was a bad fit. He was a bad fit. But all the finger pointing at Steve Wilkes and saying that, his defense, blah, 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 this was Shanahan's defense. Again, this was Shanahan's defense. The defense, since we're so harsh on the defense played well enough to win the Super Bowl. For crying out loud, they helped Mahomes 3 points in the first 9 possessions. My question is, where the hell was the offense? Where's the MVPs?
Dude,
where's the greatest play caller?
Dude, the Chiefs' defense was better than the Niners' defense. They're the best defense in the NFL, second best defense in the NFL.
Nobody knew that until the playoffs. Nobody knew that. Well, they didn't have a lot of names. They told Shanahan, we're stacking 10 in the box.
If you didn't know that before the playoffs, you weren't paying attention. They were the second best defense in the NFL all year. Run defense, scoring defense.
Niners had the third best offense.
So I'm just saying,
best offense, man.
You get to that level, that was a great defense they went up against.
They did. But the play calling left a lot to be desired.